What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we gotta talk about the crazy changes that are coming in the next patch with Chamber super nerf and crazy changes to a number of different agents like Neon, Jet, and even more. So we gotta break down and talk about it. But the GameLeap website's the best place to pop off, dominate, climb with tips, tricks, guides, and so much that you need to dominate and climb the ranks with ease. Go check it out right now down below. So let's first talk about the elephant in the room, and that's Chamber. Chamber has been absolutely dominant in pro play and ranked play alike, and he's been in this state for quite some time. But Riot is actually implementing big changes that nerf Chamber across the board. Let's hear what the devs have to say about it and read out the changes. Quote, as players in both ranked and pro play have mastered Chamber, his strengths have started to overshadow his weaknesses, making the counterplay to Rendezvous and his arsenal not as effective as we hoped. Chamber's overall power has felt outsized, and we believe that we can reduce his kit while still keeping him competitive with the rest of the roster. So for Rendezvous, his E, the base cooldown has now increased from 20 seconds to 30 seconds, the recall cooldown increased from 20 seconds to 30 seconds, the cooldown set to 45 seconds whenever a Rendezvous anchor is destroyed, and the radius size decreased from 21 meters to 15 meters. So this means several things. One, there's gonna be bigger cooldowns that are added to just using the ability, which means that each one is going to have to be a little bit more strategic. And there's gonna be some situations where you use it and enemies rotate off, or they play default and they re-hit, and you're not gonna get it back in time to actually utilize that. Because that was happening a lot where Chamber basically got multiple chances at an engagement and a get out of jail free card, and it was happening a little bit too much, and that's what this is doing. Now the recall also increased, so if a Chamber has to rotate off and pull it back, by the time he gets there, it's not gonna be off cooldown yet. He's gonna have to waste some time, and it's gonna be harder for him to retake. As opposed to before, you could basically just pull him instantly, rotate, and then by the time you touch sight, you basically had it back. Now, the cooldown, you're getting more punished when it gets destroyed, set to 45 seconds, so that's even longer than normal. If your Rendezvous gets found, the anchor, and it gets destroyed, you're not going to be able to use it for quite some time. That's a really, really long time, and that's going to punish you for putting it in a very obvious place. And yeah, that's pretty much going to incentivize you to really recall it if you ever leave the space that your anchors are occupying. And then the biggest change here is the radius size decrease from 21 meters to 15 meters. This is the physical distance you can stand away from the anchor and still activate it. So that means that you're just going to have to play a lot closer to your anchors, and there's a lot less wiggle room, and there's gonna be some techs that are no longer useful, and you're going to have to be really careful about where you're standing, and it's gonna be a lot easier to play against Chambers because, especially at the start of the round, where they place their anchor versus when they start the engagement is actually gonna be a lot closer together than it was before, and it's gonna take some getting used to for a lot of you Chamber players that have developed the spatial awareness of the previous radius size. Now the devs had this to say about the changes. Quote, Chamber's Rendezvous is intended to be powerful at holding space, but the generous radius allowed him to take more space than intended. This change should require Chamber to exert more effort to access off angles. And the next part was, quote, we hope that a harsher punishment for destroyed Rendezvous anchors and the reduced radius will demand Chamber mains to be more careful in their use. This change also brings the counterplay of Chamber's destructive objects more in line with the behavior of other destructible objects in the game. Now, if this was the only changes, it would be felt, but I don't think it would make a huge impact overall. But there's a lot more changes here. I mean, everything got hit on Chamber. Next off is his trademark. The slow duration got decreased from 9.5 seconds to 6 seconds. Now, in a lot of ways, it's gonna be all the same because it was mainly used to gather information, and the fact that it's just gonna be decreased is fine. But trademark, sometimes it lasted so long it was a little bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie. And I think that this is a fine change. I don't think this is like overly impactful, but it definitely makes it a little bit less of a stalling ability and, whatever. But it doesn't matter all in all. It still could be used to gather information. Now, Tour de Force, his sniper rifle, the ultimate points required increased from 7 to 8, and the slow duration decreased from 9.5 to 6. Now, this is an interesting one. I think overall, just adding more ult points is fine. I think a lot of people would have rathered, Chamber have 2 bullets where he got a bullet every time he got a kill. So it required you to consistently hit shots and it was less forgiving, or make it so he can't fire so damn fast compared to just like every weapon in the game. But all in all, any nerf to Tour de Force I think is fine. Now the slow duration, I don't think that matters all that much because you're gonna be able to take a shot or a second shot way before that slow duration goes away. But all in all, it is going to be a nerf to the ability. But the last one, and I think the most impactful change to Chamber, is Headhunter. Bullet cost increased from 100 to 150. This puts the weapon far more in line with what it should cost based on how powerful this weapon is. Because, you know, you could just, you know, buy 4 bullets and absolutely just pop off on that first pistol round. And it was really, really cheap and easy to do. And now you're gonna have to make really hard decisions on pistol round and throughout the game. Just dumping your money into Headhunter is gonna be a huge economy sink. And if you're not getting any value out of it, it's gonna be really detrimental to the economy of maybe even your team. And as for before, you could literally just dump. Because think about it now. If you wanna buy, I don't know, 5 bullets in that first pistol round, then it's gonna cost you 750 credits. And that's with no other abilities. And most of the time you do wanna buy that trademark on that first pistol round. And you definitely can't go 4 bullets with a Headhunter and armor anymore. And it just makes that pistol round a lot harder throughout the game on eco rounds. It makes it, you know, it makes you have to decide how many bullets you're gonna buy, what makes the most sense. And the regular pistol options become a little bit more appealing in some situations. So I think all in all, it is fine and it's a good change to Chamber overall, but this is what they had to say about it. It's important that Headhunter is a powerful sidearm for Chamber, but its current price point, Chamber doesn't have to engage in making difficult economic decisions as meaningful as other agents. This should most notably impact Chamber's decision making on pistol rounds and save rounds. So yeah, basically exactly what we talked about. That is all in all what has been done to Chamber, and they have hurt him a lot. Now, they could have hit him a lot more, especially with the equip time on a lot of these weapons, like his Operator and his Headhunter. They could have, you know, completely nerfed some of his other rendezvous abilities, but instead of targeting some of the really powerful abilities very hard, they went with the approach to just reduce Chamber's power level. I honestly think that this is a good way to go about it for now. We can just look and see how this changes Chamber's pick rate going forward. If it doesn't hit him enough, we can hit him with more nerfs slightly, or we can just buff some of the other sensitive options, making them more competitive, and they probably need buffs anyway. So I think my general opinion on this change is it's fine, and we can gather more data after the changes go through and see how badly it affects Chamber, or if it actually bounces him with the rest of the roster. But I really want to pass the question off to you. How do you feel about these changes and why? Let me know down below. Now, there's another huge change that is going to be affecting a lot of characters, and I would imagine more characters in the future, and this is something called Regional Damage Breakup. So they're adding a breakup of regional damage to all abilities that affect certain body segments differently, similar to how weapons work. So that precision is rewarded, because some of these weapons, they're basically treating the body like the legs. Like, for instance, Jet Knives, which is targeted here. Blade Storm now, the leg shot has a multiplier reduction where leg shots are only gonna do 85% of the damage of a body shot. Now, in some ways, this is gonna be frustrating, but it makes sense when it lines up with the way that weapons work in general, and just, you know, logic would dictate that a leg shot would do less damage than a body shot. I mean, it's a freaking video game, but you get the point. It makes sense that headshots do the most, body shots do a medium amount, leg shots do the least amount, and that's what they're doing. The same thing with Chamber's Tour de Force. There's another nerf to him that kind of slid under the radar. His sniper rifle is going to only do 85% of the damage to the legs. So that's another change. It's like you're basically slightly penalized for not hitting at least a body shot. And then Neon is the one that's the most interesting to me, because she got some crazy changes involving this. First off, the damage per shot is reduced from 22 to 18. What the hell? People are like, that's a huge nerf. Leg shot now only does 85% of the damage that a body shot does. What the hell? People are like, that's just crazy. She does less damage, and now it's even less damage with a leg shot, but they actually buffed her to offset this. The kill zone got increased from 15 meters to 20 meters, so you have more range that you can actually kill people. It's much longer range, and it's much more effective at fighting at that mid-range. And then the headshot multiplier got increased from 1 to 3. You heard me right. The Neon Ultimate now just basically instas if you hit people in the head. That is freaking nuts. It's very, very powerful, and it adds extra skill levels to Neon. Like, it's obvious that if you're running around, not hitting your shots, and you know, hitting even in the legs, you're gonna be way worse now with Neon than you were before with that ultimate. You're gonna get even less kills, but there's a lot of situations with Neon where you fly in really well, you slide, you get on a target, and the enemy just dinks you instantly, and you die, and it doesn't even matter. But with this headshot multiplier increase, if you're really good with Neon, you're gonna get rewarded. And I cannot wait to see some of these cracked Neon pros on Neon. It's gonna be so freaking cool. But yeah, overall, this makes sense to me. It's gonna be, you know, a little weird getting used to, but yeah, tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think about the chamber changes. But the GameLeap website has in-depth VOD reviews that break down not only pro plays, but players of every rank. So if you want to see exactly the mistakes that people just like you are making and how to correct them, you gotta go check out the GameLeap website right now in the description down below.